Figured you would.
Well, thanks for coming together again. We're streaming live as we have for all of the meetings. If you need a restroom, out the door to the right, or if there's any reason we need to leave the room or this building, we would go back down the steps, out the front door, hang a left, and keep walking until somebody says stop. Let's go ahead and get started with our introductions for the folks that are here, although I feel like we know most of them, but anybody that may be watching live. As I said, Pete Borches, Karen Weiner, and Jim Talbert were not able to be with us today. Chip?
Chip Morals with the Thomas Jefferson Planning District Commission and MPO.
Morgan Butler with the Southern Environmental Law Center.
Eddie Giles with Professional Movers Incorporated.
Mark Graham, Albemarle County.
Satinder Hujan Bay of Sharsu.
Chuck Lebo, Lebo Commercial Properties.
John Nunley, Better Living.
Brad Sheffield, Albemarle County Board of Supervisors.
Henry Weinschenk representing Express Car Wash.
Debbie?
Debbie Messina, Fellowship Pet Company.
Dave Covington with VDOT, Program Manager for 29 Solutions.
Ron Lynch with VDOT Culpeper District.
Joel Denunzio, VDOT, Charlottesville Residency.
Lou?
Lou Hatter, 29 Communications Managers.
Chuck Parker, Culpeper District Planning.
Hal Jones, Culpeper District Project Management Office.
Stephen Davis, Central VDOT.
Before we go on, I wanted to mention something to you about our new friend Stephen that's helping us manage our streaming and capturing and posting our video. And I asked his permission before I did this. Stephen came into VDOT as part of the Wounded Veterans Internship Program, which was and maybe still is the only program of its type in any DOT in the country that brings in veterans as interns who, for whatever reason, come back from service and are not able to return to former job. Stephen, from 1990, 1991, was in Operation Desert Shield and Desert Storm. 2005, 2006, Operation Enduring Freedom. 2007, 2008, Operation Iraqi Freedom, and has participated in defending us against terrorism continuously since 2006 and 2009. So, Stephen, we owe you a debt of gratitude for your thanks very much, and we're proud to be working with you. So thank you. All right, let's go ahead and pull up our presentation there, if you don't mind. Thanks, Stephen. We can flip over to agenda item 2. The next one. From our last meeting, October 23rd, I think it was, there were 41 viewers. That was up from 39 the meeting before, so up a couple. There were 69 streams. Last time was 117. At 69 means that more people tuned in and stayed tuned in instead of dropping in and out. And the average stream was 37 minutes, also up from the previous one a little bit. So seem to be on a bit of a small trend up with more people watching and watching a little bit longer. Next one, Stephen. Thank you. There were 4 comments, and I'll say a word about the website real fast. Maybe even a little faster than we planned. We launched a new website. It's still route29solutions.org, and we found out midweek that as the comments, the open comment section was being migrated over to the new website, all of the public comments, we still have them, but they all disappeared from the old website. So anybody that went to the website kind of midweek who had commented previously, not there's been that many, but being one of them, I went to it to check all the comments, and there was a big goose egg, as if nobody had ever commented, and I found out that they were being migrated over to the new website in prep for launching. But in talking with VDOT late, whatever night that was, we were talking, said, look, ready or not, we've got to launch the new site because we can't have all the public comments disappear. So we did launch a new site. It's still route29solutions.org. There was some more tweaking to it today to put up more material to get it up to par with where we were before. Some folks, and I know including some panel members, were still being directed to the old site. I'm not the biggest technical wizard, but I had the issue, and if you saved it as a favorite, just delete it as a favorite, empty your cache, and which I seem to do frequently, empty your cache, go back to route29solutions.org, and you should be at the new site. We were planned on doing a soft launch, whatever, I'm not sure I even know what that means, but we just had to kind of hurry up with it to get those public comments back out there. So if you do go to it and reach it, you'll see a new look. If you go to it and have any problem at all, if you're a panel member, let me know, and any citizens out there that have an issue, just be sure, and if you have my contact information, philip.schuquette@philipschuquette.com or VDOT, let one of us know and we'll get it squared off for you. All the same functionality is there as far as the interaction and comment sections go. Since our last meeting, we had 4 more comments submitted through the website. And this is why I was worried when they disappeared. We had 40 postings on it was called Share Your View postings on the website. That's now called Provide Input, I think. There were 11 new postings since the 23rd. Only a couple of those really generated a response, mostly around the same things we've been discussing. How does access work during construction? Of the comments that were submitted on the website, there was one comment that specifically asked to be brought up today. It's a much longer comment, but the gist of it was that they were concerned about cut-through traffic during RIO and the 29 widening project as it relates to Georgetown Road, Joel. And I think this is one you may want to watch out for. They requested that at the appropriate time, that the signal timing at Georgetown and hydraulic in Georgetown and Barracks be looked at in order to be sure that people on Georgetown have an opportunity to get out safely onto either hydraulic or Barracks at times when there might be increased traffic during construction. So I think that's one we kind of leave with you to check out. Go ahead, Stephen. There was another comment that we've had several of that supports the package with the exception of RIO. One asked and suggested that the intersection at Berkmar and Hilton Heights be a traffic circle, but I believe our plan there is for a regular intersection. And that same person applauds you for the bike lanes on Berkmar.
I thought you showed traffic circle there.
We do. I mean,
We do.
but it's not specified which way they.
Oh, okay, so
they
that's,
have to do the analysis.
okay, so analysis will be done there. All right. The reason I listed Merchants Tire here is because this person made the comment and listed their name and address, and as a representative, the general manager, I think, at Merchants Tire, concerned about access for daily operations. This is at 725 Rye Road West for daily operations during and after construction. And I'll get a little note back to him, but you know, Merchants Tire, some other stuff on Rio West. I think there's another business there that we've heard from before, Photo Works Creative Group. And just to review, during construction, during a 103-day restricted period, from northbound 29, an individual, this guy was also interested about deliveries, not just customers, but deliveries. From 29 North could make the left at that temporary crossover at Berkmar and get to Rio, get to Merchants. From southbound 29, depending on where you're coming from, you could come all the way down to Rio and make the right turn onto Rio West, or jump on existing Berkmar at either Hilton Heights or Woodbrook and come down to Rio. From Rio East, that would be the trickier one, obviously. The right will still be open on the 29 North. Then you could go to Woodbrook, or I don't know why you would go past Woodbrook if you were coming from there. Go to Woodbrook, get on existing Berkmar, head back south to Rio East. So certainly not as convenient as it is today, but a workable detour during that 103-day period.
And that's where one of my comments came in that, I think I put that in the email about at Fashion Square Drive and at Woodbrook, probably need to look at putting up no right on red on both sides of Woodbrook and both sides of Fashion Square. Because if people are going to be making more U-turns, that's just a recipe for accidents. So right now, you can make a right turn on red, and the only reason I think about this is I was leaving Lowe's.
You were leaving Lowe's.
Sure enough, someone was making a U-turn as I was thinking, oh,
yeah,
that'd be fine, and turn right. And no near collisions or anything.
Right,
Just made me think
right.
that's going to happen.
Well, we've got that comment from you, and that's something we'll have to look at as we move forward.
Wouldn't his concern be that coming out onto Rio, there's a concrete divider between the lanes crossing over 29 and coming this way onto Rio, so there'd be no way for his clients to get out and go left.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, you're right. Like right now, you can't make a left out of the Hardee's or the Tire Merchants. So you have to almost do a full circle to try to go north. We might look at deconstructing that curb for a while because there won't be any cross traffic. So people would be able to make a safer left turn.
Make a left and go west.
Yeah, and then be able to go north.
Yeah, it's almost a necessity.
Because right now, they could obviously pull out, take a right, pull up to the light, take a left, and go north on 29.
Right.
That's a good point, Jeff.
But they couldn't get back to Berkmar either.
Right now, they would have to make a whole, go all the way around.
And there'd even be a concern, the other way out is to come out onto 29, and whether that'll be part of the major construction in those 103 days.
Well, during 103 days, between 6 a.m. and 9 p.m., have to maintain 3 lanes northbound, and 2 lanes southbound. Yeah, through the intersection as well.
Okay. I'm trying to think if that's the problem on the other side of Rio.
We'll take a closer look at that and come back next week.
Yeah, there's a median there too.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what kind of traffic pattern.
If you come out of St. Jimmy John's and go back on the left, you can't, you have to go to Elmore.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'll take a look.
Okay. Go ahead to the next one. At the last meeting, Brad suggested that we add an additional standing agenda item for sort of an open period for panel discussion at the first of the meeting, which we have added. Brad and Pete each sent in some thoughts that, at least my view of this section, Brad, and I'm not sure if this is exactly how you intended it, but at the first of the meeting, this is an opportunity to bring some thoughts, suggestions, ideas forward that may roll into the agenda for the next meeting.
Yeah.
So
Or future meetings.
well, yeah. Both Brad and Pete shared their emails with the entire panel. So I don't have all of that as part of the agenda today, but we would carry that over build the agenda for the 20th from these. Do you want to review what your thoughts were, Brad, or?
Quite honestly, I'm forgetting the third one, but there was
Here, that'll help you there somewhere. So that's Pete's on
send
top.
a lot of emails these days.
Well, you have been.
So yeah, there's a lot of discussion about bike and pedestrian stuff, but there are a lot of people, especially in the Rio east side of the community, that are very bicycle oriented, and some of them are very frustrated that that's all getting lost in the noise. So they're looking for some way for the panel as well as VDOT to be looking at those things separately. Mainly, the biggest topic has been, the multi-use path during the widening. How is that really going to connect to everything? Are we just building a path to nowhere? How, what's the regional vision of that? And then crossing Rio Road, or crossing 29 with the new overpass at Rio Road there. What are we doing to help facilitate safer bicycle crossings there, if we're going to encourage that? Someone had the thought of, well, UVA is doing this whole green cubing lane. Would this be a great opportunity to test that out at that crossing at Rio Road, at 29, to see how well that could help with the bicyclists who might want to bicycle to the library or the other side. The other was just the U-turn thing. So
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, the third one was, I guess, comparing the signal timing to current to the
Right. And all of that stuff will be happening, and we'll be able to report back on it.
People just want to know. So I think Pete might have actually brought this up at some point. Right now, if I'm making that left onto Rio Road from US 29 South, how much more time am I saving? How much more of those signals going to be moving faster through their cycles than they are now?
Okay. Pete mentioned three things just in his note, and it coincides with something I want to discuss later in the agenda, and that's pedestrian crossings at Rio and 29, and how do we do that safely and at the same time keep traffic moving, especially that heavy right from traffic that's westbound on Rio and northbound on 29. Pete asked and would like to see a little bit more information on how is east-west Rio benefiting. Those folks go through a signal today, and they will still go through a signalized intersection after construction. Pete also mentioned that the issue he's brought up before a bit with the left at Woodbrook, not only from the merge point of view, but that left turn, the ability to turn left into Woodbrook needs to stay in place, and noted that during the first panel, one of the things that was talked about was eliminating left turns, and he's looking for some assurance from VDOT and from me that there's not a future plan to take those lefts out. I can only speak for me. We didn't recommend that option, and I I would not be prepared to recommend that we take out those left turns. I think they are going to be important. The package that we're talking about doesn't include removing left turns. It is what it is, and I think that's what it needs to remain. Others may feel differently.
Well, along those lines, has a
Yes, sir.
study been made about that? Because we may think that now, but when it's actually built, you may say, "Oh, we're getting too many accidents here, we need to stop this left turn here." Is there any type of way to study something like that, or?
Well, part of the weaving analysis that we've talked about before in terms of how traffic is weaving across from the local lanes, the through traffic on the local lanes, or traffic turning right on the 29 North that wants to turn left at Woodbrook will have to weave across a lane, just as traffic that's coming out of the through lane that wants to turn right or get into the right turn lane will be weaving across each other. I mean, that's not a new situation, but situations that certainly get a lot of attention at VDOT, and something that we'll be looking at as part of as the design reviews come in from the contractor. But as far as removing a left turn, certainly if it's an unsafe situation, then that's going to merit some analysis. I don't believe there's any plans on the table to eliminate left turns now, nor is there any information that would suggest that should happen.
So you're saying there's no way to study a situation like this, or
Study it
compared
through the
to
weaving
other
analysis.
cities that have the same type of intersection?
Oh, no, there's ways to study it through the weaving analysis.
Because there's some weaving now.
There's weaving now,
And I think
absolutely.
the express lanes will be
Yeah.
going even faster than
Yeah.
what normal traffic drives through now.
Well, they won't be stopping. I don't know how much faster they'll be going.
Well, it was posted 45, they'll go 50.
Well, that's probably what they're doing now. Right. I've included, when we get to the traffic numbers, or traffic figures, and I'll tell you now, we're not going to go through 21 pages of traffic numbers here at this meeting today, but you'll see, I'll show you where we've included the figures for the weaving.
On the east-west traffic, aren't there going to be two lights where now there's just one? Because you're going to have a light for the on-ramp. If you're coming east, you're going to have to take a left to get on the through traffic on-ramp. So I would think would be a light there.
I'm missing something, John.
The local traffic.
If you're
Local traffic heading east,
local traffic heading east,
there'll be a light at the intersection of Rio and 29.
yes, sir.
And then isn't there going to be another light at the intersection on the opposite side to
No.
allow people to turn left?
No, sir. No, there'll be one signal light, one set of signals that control the intersection.
It's essentially similar to what's there now.
Yes, what's there now.
Yeah. It wouldn't change.
Right.
While we're at the subject,
You get a green arrow to turn left.
since you offered some time, I'm still hung up on the continuous U-turns.
Mhm.
And,
Well, they're not continuous U-turns,
Well,
but the U-turn. Okay.
well, we talked about.
Yeah, okay.
They came, they went, and I'm trying to make a pitch for them to come back,
Okay.
because it occurred to me that possibly, subject to more analysis,
Mhm.
if one of the concerns was, well, when the light is red, you only need a few cars and you're backed up.
Yeah.
Well, that would be true unless the leftmost lane is only for U-turns. If you did that, then it possibly could be done. And I'm not saying that I got it all figured out.
No, I got you.
But I think that thing probably deserves a little bit of study, because I still like the idea, and I've seen it, looking at, researching other
Right,
operations
right.
elsewhere.
Texas likes them.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. San Antonio, that's where I saw them first.
So we in that situation, we would eliminate the double left.
Essentially.
Yeah.
Because I wonder if you still need a double left going into Briar Road.
Okay, let's.
Maybe you do, maybe you don't, but I think that deserves
Okay.
a little bit of.
All right.
If you're
But-
handling same or slightly increased volume of traffic but faster,
Well,
Well,
you're handling on the local lanes. Let me put it this way. For the people that are not traveling through the intersection today, everybody else is doing something there, right? They're turning right, they're turning left. With the grade-separated intersection, let's take the left turns for a minute. With the grade-separated intersection, basically have the same pool of people that want to turn left, let's say from 29 North to Rio East, but they'll be doing it without the presence of all of the traffic
right.
that is traveling through now. I get what Henry is saying, and we can take a look at what that would mean.
I'm asking for a
Of what would
second
that
look.
mean?
I'm not
Yeah.
saying that I
Yeah.
got the
I
answer.
hear you.
but, it occurred to me after thinking
Yeah.
about it for a few weeks.
That the longer bridge with the U-turn looked good, didn't it? Yeah.
I understand why you want
Yeah.
to shorten the bridge.
Yeah.
But can you still have a continuous U-turn on a
Let's-
shorter
let's-
bridge and still make it by making the leftmost turn lane? and
Let's
turn?
look at it and see what we
That's
find
all
out.
I'm saying.
Okay, all right.
Spending a little bit more engineering money, that's what I'm.
Well,
Yeah.
we'll spend a little
It's in
more,
his budget.
we'll spend a little more Dave's time.
Yeah, well, and then the other thing I'm still slightly hung up on is one of the things that has come up for mysterious reasons, or has died for mysterious reasons at the county level, is that the whole idea of increasing mobility is by taking some traffic out of 29. And getting Ashwood Boulevard and Hollymead Drive to connect to the extended Berkmar Drive would definitely do that. And when you look at the scope of this overall project, which is somewhere in the ballpark of 200 million,
Yes, sir.
the cost would be somewhere between 2 and 3 million, I estimate. And it would take traffic out, and this would be, talking about traffic analysis.
Sure.
Here you can do one of Berkmar Extended without those connections, what it does on 29, and then with the connections, how much more does it do on reducing traffic on 29? So, despite the fact that I know that somewhere in the county, this thing was put, not in the back burner, but behind the back burner, again, I'm asking for a second look at it.
Okay. I mean, I still stand on what I said, that if a recommendation came up through the transportation planning process to add a connection, I'm willing to do my part to try to get the money.
And that's why I referred to the back burner, and then I referred to beyond the back burner. Right now, I understand it's beyond the back burner. Maybe it can come back to the back burner.
Well, I can tell you from my perspective, and this is just me, not the entire board, but that's money that can be spent to improve Berkmar and Hillsdale at Ryan, which are going to be more of a priority. And there are small transportation improvements that need to be made all throughout, at least the Rio district, that money could be better spent on. Some pushback that I've gotten from people is like, why are we talking about all these improvements in the other part of the county, and in the older parts of the county, especially in the Rio district, we're not talking about anything. So it's very hard for me to say, yeah, let's make that connection for all those people up in Forest Lakes, when the people in Commonwealth Drive are suffering, 50-mile-per-hour speeders and things like that. So that's just my perspective, that it's the way to prioritize how to spend very finite resources.
Just my answer is, this particular item does not just benefit the people living nearby, it benefits the mobility on 29. Maybe marginally, and I don't know how marginally or not, but it's definitely a benefit to reduce cars on 29, which reduction of traffic on 29 is increasing mobility. And this whole project is based on increasing mobility.
Okay.
That's why I think it deserves a look.
I'm certainly not a traffic engineer, but one thing to keep in mind, if we create those connections there, the traffic coming out of the access 29 would get left turns, so I'm assuming you would have to increase the length of the signals there. So while you may be creating more opportunities for people to go back and forth between the roads, you may also be increasing the time that it takes people to get through that stretch of Route 29.
It's too technical an analysis that you and I can not resolve.
It's one other piece of this, it's not.
It's another thing for Dave to probably do.
Well, let me talk to Dave a little bit, but to Chip, because that's an issue I'm thinking that may be a little bit more appropriately looked at in the regional model. But let me have a chit chat and then we'll be back.
And the last bit I'll add into that, Henry, is it's definitely worth discussing when we talk about updating the long-range transportation plan, because that plan's already out of date, and it needs to be updated. And that's when we need to take stock of how all these projects will impact and what other things need to start being putting into that plan and 6-year plan. So that's to where you would want to put your crosshairs, is in that process.
Well, it's in Places 29, which is has a transportation plan that has been around for quite a while, cost a lot of money, was hailed as being the best thing to improve traffic on 29, and now it's gone. And I don't see the logic why it's gone. I think logically it deserves a second look.
You're saying Places 29 is gone?
No, these two crossings and connections are gone, effectively.
Well, I'm not sure they're gone. I think they're still in the process of being analyzed, and neither one of them was put as a short-term priority.
Well, anyway.
And I didn't mean to prolong the session, I just want to give you my perspective.
I
We really haven't talked about it much at the board level, but I felt like this panel deserved at least my reasoning.
Yeah, well, I hear you. I just give you my superficial technical analysis that we're probably missing an opportunity for mobility at relatively low cost.
Anything else on this particular portion of the agenda that might serve as items for the next agenda? Brad, is this what you were thinking up when you?
Yeah, just getting things in the queue for being discussed.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I think we're going to continue to get feedback and items that we'd like to
I would hope.
explore,
Yeah.
and I think
Some tougher than others, but that's what it's about. All right, then we can go on to the schedule, for lack of other terms, the procurement schedule. That page is the same. The only reason I've kept it there is because I think there's some value in historically keeping track of this schedule in every presentation, but go ahead to the next page. I said notes on new procurement dates. There's some new procurement dates as a result of the addendum that was issued last night. It's up on the website. I already forgot where. Under panel, where is it?
No, it's a new heading.
Right.
The documents section.
Yeah, there's a new document section. The RFP that was originally issued is there, and the addendum that was issued last night is there. And there are some important things in that addendum that really don't affect this page too much. The next round of proprietary meetings, the addendum got out November the 5th. The next round of proprietary meetings in November the 19th and the 20th. Next page. But here's a material change that doesn't affect our overall schedule. in considering how important it is to get this, particularly the 103-day period, right, and in some of the proprietary discussions with the contractors, some of the discussions Dave and I have had, John Lynch and I have had, the chief engineer and I have had, we made a conscious decision in cooperation with the three proposers to extend the date of the technical proposals from December 4th to January the 6th, giving the proposers 30 more days to prepare their technical proposals. That basically keeps them working over the end-of-year holidays, which would have been a review period for VDOT, but it gives those three proposers more time to put their pencils and their minds at work in terms specifically of how they might approach going after the incentives to get out of the intersection even sooner. We, as a result, kicked the price proposal back from the 13th to the 20th, opened the price proposals on the 21st, notice of intent to award on the 22nd, get FHWA's review period, and then the key dates stay the same. February 18th to go to the Commonwealth Transportation Board with a recommendation for an award, and because the CTB has to approve it, and a March 4th notice to proceed. So we've given the contractors more time, we've given Dave less time, but sufficient time for him and his team to do a thorough review of the technical proposals. I think it's a good move. I think it's time well spent, or not, depending on what the contractors choose to do. You know, having it in earlier would give VDOT more time to review them, but doesn't get us to go any sooner. So the contractors last night were made aware of this schedule change, and I don't know if they're calling people today or not, but I would presume not on this particular item, since they've got 30 more days.
So you're allowing just 2 days from opening of the price proposals to making a decision
Oh, yeah.
on who's going to do the work on this size of a project?
Well, because the price proposal is a number. I mean, that's just a conformity check. But between January the 6th, when the technical proposals are due, and opening the price proposals, that's when VDOT will do their review. So between the 6th, John, and the 23rd, VDOT will be reviewing all of the technical proposals.
For over $200 million in work, you're going to get 2 weeks.
So that's more than they usually get, sure, yeah.
So what happens if they like the technical review of somebody that's more expensive?
If they like the technical review of someone that's more expensive, the technical, I think as we've talked about before, is 70-30, but 70% price. The VDOT has the option to pick a better technical proposal at a higher price, but not the sky's the limit. I mean, within reason. Within reason. No, this is a sufficient time period for, in my judgment, it's sufficient. They'll sequester themselves for their technical review. Is it you're saying? I don't know how big your team is for the technical review.
Yeah, we'll sequester just like we did for the evaluation of the statements of qualifications, but a couple points of clarification here. We keep the technical proposal evaluation separate from the price proposal opening. So we will complete review of the technical proposals before we even receive the price proposal.
Yeah.
So there's no perception of impropriety. when we receive the price proposals, we will have the scores, the technical scores of the 3 offers. Then when we open the price proposals, we do a calculation, 70% price, 30% technical score, to arrive at the final score, and that's what determines who is awarded the contract. So there can be a winner who is
Right.
not necessarily
The lowest price.
based on their technical score.
That'll be an intense 2 weeks for them. There's no question about that. There's no question about that. But yeah, then everything else will stay the same. One other major change, or I'll say, as far as I'm concerned, a clarification of what was an ambiguous point. There is no longer an option for RIO to be done in 2017. If you'll recall, we had the 2016, May 23rd to September 2nd, with the incentive structure, or May 22nd to September 1st of 2017 with no incentive. VDOT wants this delivered in 2016. So to remove any ambiguity in this addendum, there is no option for RIO in 2017. It needs to start in 2016. The 103-day period is May 23rd to September 2nd, and the final closeout cleanup is December 2nd, 2016. And that's it. So that was discussed with the principals of each firm. I won't say it was discussed, they were advised of that change before the addendum went out.
Okay, I must have slept through this. Something rings a bell vaguely.
Okay.
They had the option of doing the 103 days a year later.
Yes,
And that option has been removed.
that option's been removed.
Okay.
Yes.
I wasn't
They had the option of doing it a year later
Okay.
without any incentive, but still the same 103-day period. That option's been removed. So it's use your extra 30 days to figure out how to get your incentive in 2016, because that's the only time it can be delivered.
Okay.
And the incentive structure within that 103 days, I know there was sort of that.
Yeah, that
Is
stair
still the
step.
same?
That's the same. That's the same.
And the completion date for Burkmar and Route 29, Whiting, are they the same?
The October 30th, October 30th, 2017. Those are the
So
same.
those are the same.
Those are the same. Those are the same. But I wanted to make sure you were aware of the 20, which I think it was kind of something people knew was out there, but we haven't really talked about it. We've been focused on
I
2016.
had a vague
So now
inkling
it's-
that I heard something
So now it's gone.
early on in the process.
Yeah.
but,
You did.
But I wasn't too sure what it meant now.
Yeah.
And essentially, the option of getting an extra year to get ready is gone. Now they have 1 year to get ready rather than 2 years in round numbers.
That's right.
And now may I ask why that decision was made?
Why was that decision made? Because we have an incentive structure that says we're looking for the best technical proposals to deliver the project in 2016. And I'm not suggesting that anybody would do this, but for two reasons. One is just to remove the ambiguity. We've had a couple of discussions with VDOT, and VDOT I'll say the executive management of VDOT wants RIO delivered in 2016. So said then, if that's the case, let's say what we want. The other thing that it does for the evaluations, though, is there's no opportunity now for someone to write a really great technical proposal about delivering the project in 2016, winning, and then saying, well, I'll just do it in 2017. So let's say that John, Philip, and Chuck are the three proposers. They kind of focus their attention on 2017. I write let's say Chuck writes the great proposal to do it in 2016, to do it in 2016, wins the job, but then does it in 2017. It's an ambiguity that doesn't need to be present in the procurement process.
Then he loses 9 million,
Well, we want him to get his 9
or
million.
8 million, I forgot what.
So here's the deal for the contractors that are watching. You could say, well, you're not giving the contractors an opportunity to be, as much of an opportunity to be innovative. Yeah, we are. Be innovative to get your 9 million. Be innovative within that 103-day period. But VDOT's going to stand fast on that 2016 delivery of Rio.
Makes it a lot easier for us to explain it. You know, if you say the 103-day period, maybe in 2016.
Right. And we've got to go back and clean up some other language now where that was in there, that it could be one or the other, but not both.
And it also significantly decreases the amount of time that work that may occur outside the 103-day period can occur. It's how now all got to be done by 2016.
The other thing it does, Morgan, is it increases the opportunity to deliver the projects with fewer overlaps in any construction anywhere, or shorten those periods. So everything else is the same. Outside of the 103 days, got to maintain 4 lanes north, 4 lanes south between 6 a.m. and 9 p.m., 2 lanes on Rio. All the restrictions for the 103-day period are the same. It's just a 2016 gig. And it gets it over with. Go ahead, Stephen. If you do have questions for about what's in the addendum, just shoot me a note. If I don't know the answer, we'll get the answer from Dave. There were some recommendations and requests out of our last meeting. One was to consider a boat launch access at the bridge on Berkmar Extended. John, you and I chatted about that a bit. Do you want to tell them your thoughts about?
Well, I think in terms of the use of there's programs out there in terms of the recreational access program and some other programs that can be utilized to fund that type of improvement. So we would encourage that those be looked at as well, rather than using transportation funds.
Is that can enhancement funds be used for?
Recreational access is considered.
Recreational access, okay, recreational access.
Well, and I think the intent was not even really believing that transportation funds could or should be used at that point, but making sure that the design would accommodate, even if the county has the money to do it, making sure the design accommodates off of the roadway that use.
Okay.
That was, just looking at the bridge construction, they're going to have to build an access and a laydown just to build the bridge. And we're saying, if you create this gravelled area down there, just leave it. Don't tear it all out. Leave it so that it can be turned into this boat access.
That potentially, but again, what the issue there is, typically you're allowed temporary impacts to wetlands and floodplains, but permanent impacts take another view, and that's the other complication of that.
Wouldn't this be something that we could take a peek at through the first set of design reviews when they come in?
That bridge was set to span the wetlands there. And you're right, to construct it, you're going to have to accommodate the construction activity. But typically, that's a lot easier for a temporary impact than a permanent impact.
Right, I was just thinking though, if you're getting in there, obviously, to build the bridge, you're gonna try to avoid the wetlands if you can. And if you've got something in there, I don't see how you can build it without at least a laydown area and an access road to get in there to construct the bridge. So I'm saying if you've done it, and you don't need to do it to restore wetlands, just leave it.
Are you saying on the side that's Polo Grounds Road?
Yeah, this is
That
on,
area?
the,
Because the other
Ryle
side by the
Mills.
hotel is rather steep.
Yeah, this is on the Ryle Mill side.
Okay.
And if you look at the bridge, I mean, the road's a good distance from the river there, but I'm just looking at where you put your bridge columns. Somebody's got to do something to be able to build a bridge.
No, I don't disagree.
Okay, we'll hang on to that one.
All right.
Add the agenda item for panel feedback. We just went through that. We did that. And there was a request to provide some additional traffic volumes. Last time we looked at PM peak just at Rio. You asked for ADTs, AM peaks, and the intersections to the north and to the south, Woodbrook and 29th. And although it wasn't asked, I went ahead and added traffic at Albemarle Square, since there's just been a lot of conversation around that. But we'll get to those in a bit. Go ahead, Steve. Thank you. October 14th, design public hearing, and Dave will give us some specifics on the comments that came out of there. 201 people attended, so I thought that was a great turnout. Of the 201 that attended, 115 provided comments. There were those weren't all the comments, but of the 201, 115 commented. There were a total of 199 comments. Most of them were comments left at the public hearing on those forms that you saw if you were there. 63 comments were received by email. VDOT got 36 comments through the U.S. mail, and if you'll recall, there was a person taking oral statements at the public hearing, and 2 people left an oral comment. And Dave, I know you have some breakdown of what you learned from the comment sheets.
I do, and I'll go through each of the 3 projects. If you recall, the design public hearing dealt with all 3 of the design build projects and share some of the responses to the questions that we provided on the comment sheet, and then a couple of general comments that we included as well that cover all 3 projects. First, for the US 29 Rio Road grade separated intersection, and I'll paraphrase these comments. I also have them here if you want to know exactly what they stated. But the first one was, does the design address future congestion in the intersection? 87 people said yes, 25 said no, and 21 provided no comment. The second was, should architectural treatments be included on walls and bridges, something we've discussed quite a bit here and included within the RFP and subsequent addendum. 97 said yes, 11 said no, and 25 had no comment or did not address that question. The third question was, does the design provide adequate pedestrian facilities? 148 responded yes, 39 responded no, and 25 provided no comment. For the Route 29 widening project, first question is, does the design improve safety along Route 29 or their perception of safety? 44 responded yes, 5 responded no, and 49 provided no comment. Next question is, do you support a paved multi-use trail on the east side of Route 29? 47 responded yes, 2 responded no, and 47 provided no comment. For the Berkmar Drive Extension project, does the design provide an adequate alternative for local traffic? 51 responded yes, 6 responded no, 47 did not provide a comment on that question. Does the design provide an adequate alternative for through traffic? 19 responded yes, 11 responded no, and 74 provided no comment. And then finally, how will the road affect your daily travels? 48 responded positively, 1 responded negatively, and 53 provided no comment. So it also pulled 2 questions, the responses to 2 questions, which dealt more with communications and how people are receiving messages and how they want to receive messages. And I think this was, quite honestly, the most interesting of all the comments and responses that we received. The first question is, how would you like to be informed about activities that may affect your travels during construction? And we had 8 options. 58 responded by newspaper, and that was the highest of all categories. 8 responded by website. 13 responded by TV or radio. 7 responded by VDOT signs. 11 responded by social media. 3 by direct mail. 27 by email. And everything else was 4. So 4 responded to other. And then,
So the newspaper was by far the way people would prefer to be informed, of the people that answered. Of the people that answered, newspaper was the preferred way of being informed.
yes, by far. And it's specifically about construction, activities that would impact their travel during construction. So the final question was, how did you hear about this meeting? 53 by newspaper, 26 by website, 29 by TV or radio, 2 by VDOT signs, 25 by social media, 15 by direct mail, 113 by email, and 80 by other means. So here we see that the way that they heard about the design public hearing was through email. Predominantly.
Pretty interesting.
Newspaper was rather high there as well.
Dave covered a lot of numbers there. Is that something you would like a copy of, or?
We can have it.
Okay, well, if one of you want it, I'll send it to all of you, and we'll put it up.
I don't want all the numbers, but I have a question on information during construction.
Yes.
Newspaper was the first choice.
Yes.
What was the second choice?
You mean by the number of responses?
Yeah.
Email.
Email.
Yes. That was 27 responded email, so about half the number is newspaper.
So, no Twitter feeds on the?
Well, that was social media. Yeah, we're going to pump that up, right?
Phil, one other thing, just to add real quick. All of the comments received during the public hearing are public documents. We have aggregated them together. We can make those available if anybody wants to review those. There are quite a lot of them that they are available.
So 115 of them, at least, right?
No, 115 people who provided.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Do you want to see the?
I would like a copy.
Okay.
So based on that, have we reached out to the Daily Progress to see about any kind of partnership to have a standing space?
Well, standing space doesn't come free, probably, but
Yeah.
Lou and I mean, I've met with the Daily Progress. Lou's met with the Daily Progress. I sat down with the editorial board.
And the benefit there is circulation for them. I mean, if
Sure.
there's consistent, information coming out at a regular time.
Yeah.
That's just about it.
Well, there will be. I mean, there will be when we get into construction. There definitely will be.
It would be like the weather forecast. Today on 29.
Yeah.
Today on 29, it might rain.
The advertising around that, I'm sure people would pay for that. That's what we could do. We could, build in advertising for the businesses around Brio.
Would that be free advertising?
The county would pay for it.
Well, we could. There you go. Why didn't that idea come to the table yet?
Well, maybe it just did.
There you go.
It just did.
Tom, you still there? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's something to think
Anything else for Dave on the design public hearing? Well, I thought it was a great turnout. People were there early, as I recall, and the live stream went down?
Yeah, I think,
Okay.
I'm just guessing, I think it went down at 4 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. The time switch, I bet it was set. I'm just guessing, because it went right off at 4.
Something always gets you, doesn't it?
Conspiracy.
Well,
But lose recording.
okay, all right. And we're still meeting. Sorry about that. So does that mean we will have a full video to put up?
Yes.
I thought all the time changed automatically now. 2014, I mean, what the heck? All righty. For all the people that can't hear me, I'm sorry, but we'll figure that out. Jim was set to give us an update on Hillsdale, but then contacted me yesterday, and he had to be in Richmond today for another meeting. So we can do one of two things. Well, no, we can only do one. We'll push that to November the 20th. Sorry about that. He also said that on the 20th, he would have an update on the city's portion of adaptive signal timing. So we'll catch both of those on the 20th. Go ahead, Steve. This is just a graphic because we talked a little bit about the multi-use path. And Dave, you want to just take everybody through it at that intersection at North Hollywood?
So the last time that we met, we talked about the location of the path and where it should terminate, whether it should go all the way to Town Center Drive. And we looked very closely at that and determined that it was not a safe place to cross pedestrians at Town Center. There's a very narrow median. It's on a rather steep slope, so there's no pedestrian refuge area. In order to do that, you would have to cross pedestrians in a single phase of the signal all the way across all those lanes of traffic, not have a refuge area in the median. It's just not a safe situation in that location. So here we have North Hollymead Drive coming in. This is the next signalized intersection just south of Town Center Drive, as I'm sure you're all aware. And right here we're showing the shared use path or multi-use path. This looks like a lane, but the reality here is this is kind of an existing condition. So this will be green space as we're shifting over to the median side in this area. So the darker here is the lane. This would actually become green space. This is the multi-use path. There is a separation between the two, the roadway and the multi-use path. So they would be allowed to cross North Hollymead Drive here. There's a area here with ADA compliant ramps. But most importantly, there's a minimum 8-foot wide median space there to act as a pedestrian refuge area for that signal. They would cross over to the west side of 29, where we have a sidewalk shown here, and this would go all the way up to Town Center Drive. So we're providing a safe facility. We can grade the remainder of the multi-use path all the way up to Town Center Drive so that in the future, if improvements are made to the north, that it can simply be paved rather easily, and we tie right in and have a continuous facility, as Brad talked about previously.
Let me be a panelman for a minute.
Sure.
Just, if that's what we're planning on doing, should we grade it north of here? Does that leave any issue open for erosion or?
Well, when I say graded, do major grading, replanted, be planted in grass.
Okay.
Actually, at this location, whether it's paved or unpaved, there'll be a sign there directing pedestrians and bicyclists across the road at that location.
All right.
Trail ends, use crosswalks, something along those lines.
Okay.
So that would just be to simplify future
I
construction
got it.
operations.
So the western side of 29 will be paved as well, the multi-use path?
It'd be a sidewalk.
It'll be sidewalk?
Yes.
Mark, do you know how far down Hollymead is obligated to be constructing? Have they constructed all the way down?
They don't have any to construct there, so,
But are they obligated to?
no.
No.
No, they're not. And it's actually one of the questions I had on sidewalks, because if you go up to Town Center Drive right now, that just ends.
Yes.
Where does the pedestrian go at that point? Is there any plan to go up Town Center Drive? There are sidewalks further up on Town Center. Are there any plans to go up Town Center to connect to those sidewalks?
Not as part of this project, and that's something that we can look at, because that gets outside of our project limits, how we define the project already. I don't want to put Joel on the spot, but maybe he can have an answer for us in the future about sidewalks along Town Center Drive. Any plan to provide sidewalks there?
Well, we need to look at something here, don't we? So it just would end.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
We're just ending a sidewalk on a road, it looks like. That's what we're doing.
We'd have to look at the town center right away. I think there's space for a sidewalk.
There's right of way.
I think there's space for a sidewalk on the south side of that road.
Yeah.
I don't know if a platform is there or not, but I believe the right of way was approved with that
Sidewalk
development
shelf.
plan.
Yeah.
So we'd have to look at that.
Area A1.
And up to the Coles entrance.
That's correct. There's sidewalks once you get up to that first entrance road.
Yeah, I think the decision to not put the sidewalks in with development is the same reason that we have here, was because they wouldn't go anywhere. There's nowhere to cross 29, there's nowhere to go. But I
Right,
believe the
at that
shelter was
time.
built.
Yeah.
Let's,
We'll have to look at that.
let's chat that over.
Because that is a state road at this point.
Yeah.
I believe that is right
Okay.
away.
Did I understand also you are going to grade the area north of Hollymead on
We
the
can.
east side?
We can. It
And how far
depends.
would you grade, how far north would you grade? Would you grade all the way
To
up
Town Center.
to Town Center?
Yes.
Okay.
We can opt to do that as part of this project, or to defer it depending on what all the different parties want to do, quite honestly.
Yeah.
If the county wants to continue that up, then that's
Well,
something.
I think I can safely say the county would at least like to have it graded as far as you can, so that if we can figure out how to carry that sidewalk on up in the future, that it'd make it easier for us to do so.
Now, just to make sure I understand, you're talking about this portion of the
The
street.
path.
The path,
Okay.
yeah.
Excuse me, I should have said the path.
Yeah, that's,
That would be graded up to the entrance to the cemetery there, so it'd be easy to put the path and a CG12 ramp in to go back across.
That'd be great.
but what we don't want to do is encourage pedestrians and bicyclists to use it when that destination ends.
Absolutely
in
understand.
unsafe area, and encourage that
Great.
crossing there.
Understand. The pedestrian refuge, the signal timing, is it going to be such that somebody can cross?
The signal timing would be adjusted for this intersection to accommodate that crossing. That would be a signalized pedestrian crossing.
So they would be able to cross the whole road? They wouldn't necessarily the signal timing wouldn't leave them caught in that refuge? The only reason I ask is to that refuge, you've got 18-wheelers moving 45 miles an hour, 6 feet from you. That's kind of scary.
Well, there's different ways that we can look at that, but the intent is not to trap people in this median area
Right.
at all. But to give people a refuge area, we have to design this for all potential
No, I
users.
appreciate what you're saying there. I just want to make sure the signal timing would be such that a person could cross the entire roadway.
Would that signal be utilized so that it only comes on when a person presses a button and it doesn't come on?
Yes.
24/7 when there's not a pedestrian? out there?
Pedestrian actuated signal.
Okay.
Yes.
Actuated.
Yes.
Good word.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
On the pedestrian crossing right there, is this something that you really thought about for its safety? Because like he just mentioned right now, you got semis and coming down through there, and it all depends who's crossing there. I mean, that's a pretty dangerous spot right there, to be crossing with the flow of traffic like that. I mean, someone could actually, get run over. I mean, I'm just thinking about the flow of traffic and making a pedestrian crossing over that way. That's really dangerous.
Well, this is no different than the Rio intersection, quite honestly. And that's why there aren't a lot of pedestrian crossings along Route 29 right now, because of that issue. Now, providing a signal phase that is red for pedestrian crossings is, without going to a grade separated crossing, is the safest option that we can provide. Now, the other thing is that we have to cross them at some point. We have to provide some accommodation. We can't have a trail that goes to, on the north side of Town Center Drive with no terminus. It doesn't go anywhere except for the cemetery, which is not likely a heavy destination for pedestrian and bicycle traffic along the area. And then similarly to the south, terminating at Polo Grounds, it does cross there. But most of the traffic, when you get north of North Hollywood Drive, there's not a lot of other destinations along 29. Now, certainly, if at the request of the public and the county, I mean, we could look at removing a crossover there.
Yeah, but the only reason I mentioned that too is the area right there, you know, you got the subdivision over there and all that. I'm just thinking out loud as far as, you know, God forbid, is kids, you know, parents think like the kids 13, 14 years old enough to go their way. Hopefully they wouldn't do that, and they crossing that road and not thinking. I was just concerned about that. Is there any way it's possible with the technology we have today to, when you have the lights up there, to have a sensor up there that could detect someone crossing that line, and the light won't change until they go across?
I'm not aware of anything. There are some other measures that can be done, like a flashing signal to help get drivers' attention. There's some other measures that can be put in place to make it a little bit more safe, but the safest thing you can do is provide that red light that pedestrians can't cross unless the light is red. But we can look at some other ideas to make it as safe as we can.
Yeah.
We do advanced signing for the pedestrian
Yeah.
crossing.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I
There's
mean-
good visibility in this area and not steep grades either. So.
Will be taken out.
Well, in this area to the north,
don't-
there's not a lot of that.
Yeah.
And actually to the south, there's
Right.
not a great deal of that either. But
Right.
a lot of that, for lack of a better term, roller coaster
Mhm.
situation will be removed through the design of the road.
Yeah, I was just concerned because, you know, you got the, like you say, the flashing lights, but sometimes you got pedestrians, like last minute drivers in the road, they see a light turn yellow, they go for it. You know, then it's too late, you know, the light turn red on, so I'm just concerned about the safety issue.
Now, southbound traffic, it sounds like that's probably the biggest concern. I mean, there's a issue with northbound traffic too, but generally in this area, it's on a downgrade.
Yeah.
You have higher speeds going from a more rural environment to a more urban environment. By the time this light turns red, before this turns green, I mean, they aren't stopped, they're held up, so they have a certain amount of time to get to this point. So there's a delay time there between the red phase, which does help. That doesn't necessarily exist for pedestrians going the other direction or traffic coming northbound. But we can look at some measures to increase signing or strobing light during a pedestrian phase, something along those lines.
Dave, you mentioned there's going to be green space between 29 and the multi-use path on the eastern side.
Yes.
Last time you said the same would be true of the sidewalk on the other side. Is that?
Yes, there's generally a 4-foot green strip. Some people call it a utility strip because it's often used for utilities. We are requiring that green strip. Now, we may look at some alternative measures a little bit further north in front of the Coles where there's a steep slope to avoid having to put a retaining wall in. But if they don't provide the green space between the curb and the sidewalk, then they're required to provide a slightly wider sidewalk area there. So yeah, there will be a 4-foot green space. Any other questions?
A timely conversation about pedestrian crossings, because we're going to come back to that later, and as it relates to Rio, and something I want to share with you. The Business Assistant Program update. I didn't know if Brad or Mark wanted to just brief the panel on or Tom. I see the, oh, and the live streaming is back up. So, all right.
Oh, look, either Tom or Mark.
Seems like the fingers all came back to you, Mark. I don't know.
The only thing I was going to say is the board is going to be discussing on December 3rd. They're consolidating all the comments and everything. It's coming back to the board on December 3rd. For
If you'll recall, after our last meeting, we went to a meeting that was emceed by Tom and hosted by the county with VDOT and the city. That was the first of kind of a formal get-together for businesses to have an opportunity to provide suggestions and thoughts, input on how the county might be able to to provide some assistance, particularly during the Rio construction. And I know that was followed up with, I think, a sit-down with a smaller group of businesses on October the 30th.
That's true, and since then, we've had staff who've been out there meeting with the businesses one-on-one, trying to make sure, giving them an opportunity to share their concerns as well.
Okay, and you say that's kind of intended to move up to
Yeah.
October or December, end of year?
Yeah, December 3rd, there's a board, it'll be
Okay.
discussed at the board meeting.
Okay. Okay.
I can just add to that, Philip.
Yeah, Tom?
Yeah, the engagement at the meeting on the 23rd gave us a lot of ideas from the business community. The board followed up an invitation stakeholders meeting with the business community. We got more ideas at that point in time. We are going to the Board of Supervisors on December 3rd, compiling all those ideas, getting the board's thoughts on it. And then by March, we hope to have a full program developed that the board will consider adopting. So that's kind of the time frame of how that's proceeding.
So it coincides with the notice to proceed?
Yeah, it would be well before if we get into that, that situation. That will also include consideration of ideas such as a tax break for businesses during construction. All of those things are going to be completely evaluated as a part of the discussion on the 3rd of December, and then finally in a program that will get adopted by the board by March.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Any questions for Tom or Mark? Okay, thank you. And I did see where the county staff has been doing some drop-ins on businesses, sort of some one-on-one communication. Good, good. Okay, go ahead, Stephen, thank you. At the last meeting, as we mentioned earlier, the last meeting, we had some traffic figures for just the PM peak period, and there was request to provide some additional information and add a couple of totals on the peak traffic period. What you have for the next 21 pages, I think it is, after this, for average daily traffic, you've got the existing average daily traffic at Rio, the average daily traffic, go ahead and let's flip through these, Stephen. You've got average daily traffic at Rio before we just looked at the peak PM period. This is the average daily traffic, got a north arrow on there, so 29 north, it's the average daily traffic, and how that traffic splits up at the intersection of Rio for 2014 based on the counts that were taken this fall. And there were two sets of counts taken, a set in the summer and then two sets taken in the fall. So you got that for 2014. Then you have how that traffic would split out today if the grade separated intersection were in place. So this is the total average daily traffic. This 17,300 is the traffic that are in the through lanes going through the intersection under the underpass. The 8,900 is the total that's up on the local lane. So this 89 is this number, that is the 27, the 33, the 22, plus the 700. We got the total ADT, the total amount that's up on the through lane, or up on the local lane, and then the total amount that's in the through lanes going under Rio Road through the new overpass, and then all the other associated movements. So that's how the average daily traffic would distribute if the grade separated intersection were there today. Then you have it for 2018, next one, Stephen. Same thing for 2018 and for 2040. and you have the 2014 existing with the grade separated intersection, 2018 and 2040 for the average daily traffic and for the AM peak and for the PM peak. For 29th, Woodbrook, let's just keep flipping through a minute, Stephen. Keep going and I'll, till you get to one that says 29th. Just keep going for a couple more. Keep, go, stop. At 29th and Woodbrook and Albemarle Square, I left out 2018, not for any big reason, other than it doesn't show a lot of difference between 2014, I was trying to cut down on a few sheets of paper. So at 29th, here's the existing, based on, so this is the first intersection that will remain as it is south of the new Rio grade separated intersection. Here's the existing PM peak. So again, you have the total and how the traffic splits out. You've got 20, next one. How that would look today at 29th with the grade separated intersection. The total, how it splits out. There's no through here because we haven't got to the through lanes yet. And then 2040 for the same picture. And on these, at this intersection and at Woodbrook, this is the weave movement. So southbound, coming out of the through lanes, there's, of this total, there's 102, based on the fall counts in the model, that would be weaving across this lane to get to the right, and 31 that would be weaving across to get into the left. So these are the numbers that VDOT used to do their weave analysis, which is part of the detailed design traffic modeling that they will do. You'll see the same situation up at Woodbrook, only these numbers would be down here where the weave would occur. So go on to the next one. So at Woodbrook, you have the same thing. You have the existing situation based on the fall counts, how the existing situation would look, go ahead, Stephen, how it would look with the grade separated intersection in place, and then how it would look in 2040. And here's the weave, go ahead to 2040, Stephen. So here's the weave at Woodbrook. Here's the total, here's how it's distributed. There's no through traffic here other than what you see, because now we're out of the through lanes. And these are for the PM peak.
Philip, where are you getting the numbers? Because coming out of the Rio intersection, you're showing 30,800 cars going north towards the Woodbrook intersection.
Mm-hmm.
But then in the first slide for 2014 Woodbrook existing, you're only showing 2,850.
Well, you have to, John, those are the ADT numbers that we added. So the 30, the first number, that's a total day. That's traffic over a day. This is just the PM peak.
Okay.
So, but in the PM set of slides, you would find that same comparison.
Okay.
You'll see 2014 average PM peak at Rio. And now remember that there are things happening in between Rio and Woodbrook of traffic coming off and being added at other areas. I did the same thing for Albemarle Square. Go ahead, Stephen. because this has been the subject of a lot of discussion, and I just thought that for better or worse, it would be good for you to see this picture as well, because this intersection changes, I mean, in a major way, after construction. Here's the existing PM peak at Albemarle Square, based on the fall counts. With the grade separated intersection, certain movements no longer happen. So those movements are out because you can't make a left. You can't make a left onto 29. You can't go straight, and those same things apply to the other movements. Person here won't, because this intersection won't be in operation. This will be a right in and a right out only. So based on the fall counts and the model that was developed from them, this is how the traffic would split out from here. You see the through movement back in because you have through traffic going through here in addition to traffic on the local lanes. And this local number is just the total of what's operating at the intersection, excludes the through movement. Then you have the same thing for 2040. So there's a lot of information there on traffic. What I would encourage you to do is to look at it over the next few days or over the next week. And if you have questions, keep track of those. Send me any questions you have, and then we can focus on those at the next, whatever they might be, at the next meeting. But, yes, sir.
For you.
Yes, sir.
Right here you have,
Before
the grade sets for 2014, you have 148 cars coming in down Morris Square.
Go back, Stephen.
148 going in down Morris Square right here, right?
Yes.
Next slide up. Now you have 301, you double that. How do you figure that?
Because they are going down, well, go to the other one. Go to the other one, Steve, the first one for a minute. I'm sorry, the first one. Here, these are going into Albemarle Square, as are these, right? These are going into Albemarle.
And the cross movement.
And across, which is a kind of small movement, but and across. So they are, as you would see in the other sheets, these are part of your U-turns that are going down and coming back north to make that same, to get into Albemarle Square.
So your next one has 301. Mm-hmm. You're saying that all those cars that can't make a left turn will go down and make a U-turn and come back up, and then go.
That's what the model says. That's their
I think they're
destination.
going to say, I'm going to the next shopping center down, I don't want to do a U-turn.
They might. That someone might, and someone else might make the U-turn.
What's going to happen over time is people are going to change their shopping habits, and they're not going to make that U-turn. They're going to go somewhere else.
I appreciate your view on it.
So the synchronization project, does that include the light that's right there at Albemarle Square and Fashion Square on Rio Road? Maybe I should ask VDOT staff.
Oh, that's on
Yeah.
Rio, the Rio.
It was in the adaptive signal, original adaptive signal proposal. That was one of the side streets that was in.
Chuck, do you know? Oh, I'm sorry, different Chuck.
This intersection?
About the, no, he's talking about the light.
On Rio at Fashion
The
Square.
light on Rio at Fashion Square in Albemarle. I honestly don't know.
Could you?
Okay, Joel.
Teresa's watching.
Yeah, okay.
Just my thought is, maybe they wouldn't take a U-turn, but they'd take a left. If the synchronization works the way it should, that light should be prepared to allow for the free flow of movement.
Some people, here's the truth. Some people will never go to Albemarle Square again. New people who haven't gone before will go. Some of them will take the left onto Rio and go in off of Rio, and some will make a U-turn. I mean, that's the way it works. Do I think that some might not go again? Yeah, probably, but it might be some that won't go again anyway if you did nothing. I mean, these situations do settle in. People adjust their habits, or they adjust their patterns just as they do every day. But it is clear that this is a major change for this intersection. This isn't like Woodbrook, or not like 29th, where there's a cross street today and it will still operate. So while we can have different opinions about what the change means, the fact is there's a major change here at Albemarle, and it shouldn't be represented as anything other than a major change. There's a major change to the south at Fashion Square. The same thing happens at that Fashion Square entrance that's closest to Rio. It will be like this. Movements that are permitted today won't be permitted. And we need to recognize that. I personally think that's an important part of the business assistance program in terms of marketing and helping folks understand how to make these movements. And I, even though it didn't come up during our meeting, and not to slight Fashion Square in the least, there's been a lot of discussion about this particular intersection over the last couple of weeks that I felt it was the right thing to do to put these results out of the model on the table as well. I'll be happy to go back and do the 2018s, but I think they provide marginal value in the big scheme of things.
Well, first of all, thank you to giving out this much detail and having ADTs now, which is much better numbers to look at for a business, because they don't look just at peak hour, they look at their daily traffic and where it's going. I have a couple of questions, and one is just very minor discrepancies between, I wish you had these sheets numbered, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, well,
you know what? Oh, wait a minute, I thought they were.
No, they're not.
Seriously.
No, they're not. There's not even a page number. Don't worry about it. That adds to the charm of working with this.
Thank you.
Okay, but
no, seriously,
I'm
the big stickler for page numbers, and I guess I just...
You must have worked for an engineering firm at one time.
Yeah, at one time, yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, I apologize for that.
I also...
I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to give page numbers on we're going to give page numbers on the one that's posted.
Good.
And I can even resend it to you if I'd like. I think what happened is when I pulled in the graphic, it's covered up the page number on the slide, but it doesn't matter.
It's only a minor transgression.
Well,
it's okay. I appreciate the north arrow that we finally have.
Yes, we have north arrows.
But I have a question between what I would call sheet number 1 and sheet number 2, which is the 2014 ADT existing and with intersection.
Okay.
For some reason, the numbers that are on the far right and the far left are slightly different.
Mm-hmm.
There must be an explanation for it, but I cannot figure out what it is.
Yeah. The explanation for that lies deep in the bowels of a transportation model that says when something works with a little more efficiency, which can relate to capacity inside of a model, it generates a few extra trips.
Okay. Seems to
okay.
make sense. Okay. And then that comes the one, see if I can find it.
But along those lines, Henry and Phil, shouldn't that number actually decrease once the Bergmore Drive extension is provided?
See, that's, no.
The,
Now, here's a when you add the extra capacity of Berkmar, and when you add extra capacity, wherever it may be added, you, in addition to distributing 100% of the traffic that's there now, new trips are generated. So what was 100 cars in one spot doesn't become 70, 15, and 15. It might become 80, 20, and 20. Because you have added new capacity that will attract new trips. According to the fundamentals of traffic engineering, I should add. Traffic modeling.
I heard a gentleman speak yesterday, it's from Louisa, he lives at this intersection. And he said he has two ways of driving to his work. One is coming out 29, and I was saying 20, head tops over that way. A lot of folks during the construction might start using that 20 pentops area, and we're all creatures of habit, and may continue to stay on that path.
That they may, but people will take their place. People will take their place. People will take their place.
All right.
Yeah, another line, Chuck, totally outside of this, very interesting to see what happens when the McIntyre Bridge opens and see how many people really get off of the two-lane Ryder Road and get on the Parkway all the way into town. Should be interesting to see.
Well, that is when Hillsdale Drive opens, we're gonna have a lot of traffic on the Ryder Road and 29.
But just on that, to see people change that habit of driving down two-lane Ryder Road versus.
You know, Brad, you're gonna make a rule, that anybody who heard of Wolves by Benedict Parkway, you won't allow them on there.
Yeah. I'm very eager to see what the impact is.
Henry, you were taking us to two other pages. If they had page numbers on them, it'd be easy.
If I could find them.
Could you resend these out in some sort of labeling system? Because that way, when we have questions, it'll
Well,
be much easier.
you mean other than the page number?
Adding the page number.
Oh, I'm going to add the page number. Yes. Yes, I will add the page number.
I
definitely.
guess
It didn't occur to me that I was covering up the page number as I drug these graphics
Oh, no, that's
into
fine. I
the
just
slide.
think for discussion.
Well, it's really not fine. I shouldn't have made that mistake.
For discussion, that'll make it
Yes,
easier.
absolutely.
and then I have this question which probably may be answered in the deep bowels of something. That I look at the current 2014, and again I look at the numbers on the extreme right and extreme left.
Are you still on the ADT?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm looking there at the numbers, and you add them up quick mentally. It's somewhere in the 50 to 60,000 cars
Yes.
per day, which really has been a very constant number in the 35 years that I've lived in this community, despite the fact that the population of the metropolitan area of Charlottesville has doubled. Now, 25 years later, I see 2040 ADT, and we're going to essentially almost, 70,000 plus.
78,
Yeah.
78, 79.
We're seeing a tremendous increase in the next 25 years, when in the last 25 years, they may actually have been a small decrease on 29. Don't ask me how that happened.
I don't have those numbers, so I don't know. but
Okay. So that's,
I'll take a
therefore,
look at
this
that.
is a little bit of a mystery to me.
Well,
How
they're
we're going to gain that much traffic.
Yeah, it's based on growth rates that are derived from the surrounding approved land use plans. Are those growth rates still generated somewhere out of the ITE handbook?
Basically, we
Or
just
Chuck.
did the travel demand model.
Yeah.
to the existing traffic, the difference between the two, and that's basically the growth, and that's what we're showing here. That was developed as part of the long-range plan by the MPO. That was based on the economic plan that forecast that we got from the counties.
So does that mean that in 35 years, we kind of doubled the population and had virtually no impact on the traffic volume? In the next 25 years, the traffic volume is going to increase by something like 25%. So what is going to be the population around here? 3 times what it is now, or what?
I think it was
something,
180,000.
something doesn't.
Well, if they build it, they'll come.
I don't know. I'm just looking at this from the outside.
It's a growth factor. It's a growth factor applied on any project anywhere. A growth factor that's applied based on historical growth, but approved land use plans. And the approved land use plan has to come out of the MPO. There was a time, well, we won't talk about that time. There was a time when it was not quite even that uniform with respect to these growth factors and approved land use plans. Because all of these numbers are, for the most part, driven by current and approved anticipated future land use.
Well,
yeah, but I don't know the history as well as you do, probably.
Well, a little bit.
Be interesting to take a look
Just,
at.
I just can give you the overview.
Yeah, I knew it
Overview
was
is-
heavier north and south of Rio, which these numbers bear out. But
That, let's say, it's somewhat of a mystery to me that we can come up with those numbers. And maybe it works on a computer model somewhere, but, computer models are just...
I understand.
Somebody's little equations that are kind of made up sometimes.
Well, that applies to a whole lot of stuff.
I know, I know.
From car washes to traffic.
Absolutely.
So,
That's why I talked about it.
these, I thought the important thing were, these are all numbers out of one model, from the same place, based on the traffic counts that were taken in the fall and applied against the regional model and approved land use.
Obviously, the first 2 sheets, sheet number 1 and 2, are the ones that I'm most interested in.
No, I understand. That was a good suggestion to do the ADTs. I think it does relate to more people. My head sometimes gets stuck in the design hourly volume, which we use for other things.
So Chip, basically you're hearing, he wants you to do a better job than your modeling?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes. I'm going to go see you.
But I'm going to send these back to you. I might have to do that this weekend. If I get back to Norfolk in time tomorrow, I'll get them out to you. I'll get them out to you before Monday with page numbers.
That would be
on it.
We're going to come back to this a lot or something? Is that why you're doing it?
Are we going to come back to it a lot?
Yeah.
I don't want to.
I don't blame you.
I'm going to do it because if people do have questions, Chuck, I think like John said, he wants something to be a little easier. Page 23 instead of a big title.
Well, if nothing else, a particular business in one of the quadrants may want to get an idea how much traffic they're going to have in a 10-hour day passing by their store, and compare their current number to their projected number after the project is complete.
And I also want I want it to be easier for the public to ask a question on too. So we'll repost that with the numbers.
Okay.
I know the page numbers are under there because the next page is 37.
Okay.
So, all right. Our meeting calendar for Q1 and Q2 of 2015. Last week, or last meeting, we talked about continuing every other week, which, as I think about it, is even going to become more important as we try to determine how we're going to work with you on design reviews, because you've got a 9-day turnaround time. Dave and I need to figure that out, of how we're going to make sure the panel has an opportunity to participate meaningfully in the design reviews. But that's how the schedule shakes out. For all of us business people, we enjoy those 2 months of the year when we get to pay taxes 3 times instead of twice. So we have one of those in April. I did my best to check these dates against appropriate holidays that are important to people, because I missed on one in September that I should have. I think these are clear. I'll look at them again, but if we start January the 8th, every 2 weeks, this is how the schedule shakes out, and unless I hear otherwise, this would be our plan, because we also want to post the calendar for public notice on the website as well. I really want to get to this next item. Doggone it, it's 10 till 4. I asked Dave to make a change to this rendering and to do some analysis that we don't have finished yet. But over the last few weeks, over the last few meetings, haven't said anything about it because I wanted more time to think about it. You'll notice I've asked Dave to look at this intersection without a pedestrian crossing on the north side of Rio. This, because I'm concerned about pedestrian safety with these crossings in all 4 quadrants, but particularly this one. One of the heaviest movements that occurs, whether you're looking at ADTs or the hourly volumes, is this right. We've talked about this right turn a lot. On Rio East, heading west, that wants to go to 29 north. This, as it's currently designed, is a free right. Yes, there is a pedestrian signal here, but if this crossing is clear of pedestrians, this car can turn right, and I don't know if you can see it very clearly here, but you see some little vertical lines. That is, those are delineators to keep these cars in this right lane. And as traffic making this movement, once it clears here, making this movement is part of that weave or deciding to go anywhere in these other lanes, there's going to be a pedestrian conflict here, a pedestrian conflict here.
Philip, what about moving that crossover back to the intersection between Albemarle Square and Fashion Square?
This pedestrian crossing?
No, the one here on...
This one?
Yes. I mean, it's...
Moving it down here.
Yeah, because then you're not interfering with that continuous right, and you're moving the crossover to a much safer line of sight, and I mean, it's a block.
And it's where pedestrians cross more often than up there.
Right.
Well, John, I hate to disagree with you, but if you're walking along 29 okay, and you're going north, and you started somewhere near Express Car Wash, and you're going somewhere near your part of town, that person doesn't want to do a detour all the way to Fashion, to the other traffic light to come back up.
But most people are doing the crossover at Albemarle Square and Fashion Square anyway, because you've got the, all the housing behind Putt Putt.
Yeah, for other
You've got
reasons,
the
there
arbor.
are people crossing there, but the people that are walking along 29 want to continue walking along 29. They don't want to take a detour going down on Rio Road for 200 yards and then coming up another 200 yards. They just won't do it. They'll cross over there. I'll cross over there if I'm there, if I'm walking. Some of us attempt walking on 29 less than others.
Hey, Philip, we've studied the pedestrian movement down between Putt Putt and Fashion Square. We've added some pedestrian signage along Rio, trying to improve the safety, but we're also applying for funding to actually make that crossing also as a pedestrian crossing outside of this project entirely. That's
Okay.
the traffic engineers are looking at.
Well,
and we're planning on doing that.
Let's continue that discussion. But what I wanted to get on the table with you today is my concern about this crossing.
Absolutely.
I want to recommend removing this crossing and to consolidate. I've done some research and some policy guidance, and to consolidate the major arterial pedestrian crossing here on the south. Clearly, we need a pedestrian crossing here, but that would give someone in this configuration an opportunity to use either one of the Rio crossings, cross the major street here. Yet they were going back they were coming this way and wanted to walk that way. They would have to make this loop, and I understand that that's not convenient, but it's not convenient to drive south past Albemarle Square and make a U-turn either and come back in your car. My gauge internally is, what do I feel comfortable, how comfortable do I feel at night when I put my head on the pillow? I don't feel comfortable thinking about having a pedestrian crossing here, looking at the volumes of traffic that is coming out of Rio on this right turn. Now, does that also affect the operation of the intersection from the traffic side? Sure, and that's important. But what is driving my thought is the pedestrian safety of this particular crossing. If it comes out, I think it's important for us to do a little something in this end zone area that doesn't make it attractive for someone to dart across the street on. You know, these cars are going to be making will they be stopped sometimes? Yes, but for the most part, they'll be making a free right. They're going to be glancing. They're just going to have come through a pedestrian crossing. They're going to be making this right. They're going to be weaving into traffic. They're going to do what we all do, look in our rearview mirror and over our shoulder. Introducing another conflict point there, I don't believe adds value.
Question I have, did you consider a pedestrian-activated traffic light at that spot? Because you have some
Yes.
distance where you could stack some cars, and it would be pedestrian-activated, so it's only used when somebody actually wants to cross.
We did, but I recall, I think the PM peak number is something like 800 or 900 cars making just this movement.
Per hour number, yeah.
That's a big number. And we're not eliminating crossing 29, but it would eliminate 1 point for pedestrians.
Well, I always feel that if we ever want to be a less car-dependent community and have more public transit, we need to have also an optimized pedestrian system. So it's, I see the compromise, and it's a hard one. I know
It is a hard one.
I know the safety issue.
It's a hard one.
And,
I mean, I know the county has had some discussions about looking at pedestrian overpasses at some point in the future. I don't know where that is or whether this would be an area for
There's a
that.
question I was going to ask you. Did you think of a pedestrian overpass in the city? Did you think of pedestrian overpass?
Well, we thought of pedestrian overpasses, but then that gets into the right-of-way issue in order to get access to them and be ADA compliant, which you have to be.
You have to have an elevator.
which makes it.
Or an elevator, which becomes another expense and maintenance expense.
Elevators, long ramps back and forth.
Yeah,
and then people still not using them.
I believe that this arrangement, if it were like this, is very pedestrian accommodating. It's appropriately pedestrian accommodating in a safe way. That yes, it requires maybe a few extra steps, but we're doing other things here that require a few extra tenths of a mile as well, on the other hand.
I hate to say that, since I'm in an automotive-oriented business, that I think in good urban planning, you want to favor pedestrians to the maximum that you can.
Yeah.
And that's why I suggested that pedestrian-activated traffic light, that if you take a traffic count of pedestrians, that traffic light probably would be green most of the time.
I'm not comfortable
Well,
with it. I'm just not comfortable with it.
I'm-
I hear what you're saying.
I'm throwing it out.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. And then the other comment I want to make is,
Henry,
go ahead.
I want to support Henry's comment. Traffic activity light can make a difference most of the day. I know the peak hour you was considerable. It will help if you go other part of the day.
Let us continue to look at it, take some of these things into
I'll give
consideration.
my 2 cents, and that is,
Yes.
if you don't eliminate the crossing, that means more cars are prone to cut through neighborhoods, which, if you can't get them to walk in their neighborhoods, you're not going to get them to walk across 29.
If you don't eliminate,
If you do eliminate that crossing, that means you'll get people to use that right turn lane more than cutting through neighborhoods, like Carsbrook.
use it more than cutting through neighborhoods.
Which reduces the cut through and speeding in those neighborhoods, which promotes walking in the neighborhoods. And if you can't get them walking in their neighborhoods, you ain't gonna get them walking on 29.
Can I make a different comment about this?
Yes, sir.
Early on in our session, I mentioned looking at the possibility of still having continuous U-turns, and when you look at this picture,
Yes.
you almost have it, and you have those little islands, and which actually could be larger, because right now you're showing 2 lanes of U-turns simultaneously.
Well, the 2 left turn lanes go through here.
Right, but you also
Right.
show the U-turn lanes being double. And if you can make them continuous by making that leftmost lane a turn lane, you can take that pedestrian path to that island, which probably would be larger. If I can come up, I can point it to you.
Sure. To this island?
Yeah. What I'm saying is,
I don't think we can do that.
if you're able
Okay.
to make this a continuous U-turn
Uh-huh.
here, this island can come back,
Oh.
stay there, extend all the way out here, and now this path goes to this island here, there. Maybe.
Maybe.
I can make a couple of points.
You've worked it out.
Well, sure, we're going to continue to look at this, refine this. But just to point out a couple of things, the reason why that lane looks so wide between that island and that end zone area is because it accommodates tractor trailer.
Yeah.
vehicles, turning radius.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. The other is that we wouldn't want to put pedestrians on an island where they're surrounded on all sides.
By traffic.
Traffic like that. Now, the little ramps there between the slip ramp, like in the southeast and northwest quadrants, that's a little bit different scenario. And then the real issue with continuous U-turn is we don't have a dedicated lane on the other side to
Coming
receive
out of
that
it, yes.
traffic. So we certainly could do that, but we're talking major right-of-way impacts when we do that, and we're committed to not having major
Oh, no,
right-of-way impacts.
I see your point. I mean, there still would have to be yield signs, if not stop signs, yeah.
Mark?
Well, yes.
What do you think?
I'm really torn, because I've always been concerned with that crossover up there, just because, and it was a psychological thing. The driver coming westbound on Rio turns, by making the turn, psychologically, through the intersection, they're accelerating. And then 100 feet down, you have this crossover. And I was always nervous about that. But surrendering on a pedestrian access on the north side is just really hard for me to swallow. I mean, I even thought about, well, if we've got this lattice structure up there for the signals, why don't we just go ahead and look at trying to make some sort of grade separation for pedestrians, and combine it with that structure, and just bite the bullet, put the elevators on the end.
You know, when I first saw this drawing, that's what I saw you proposing.
Yeah. Ah. You thought this was a pedestrian?
This is what I thought.
Well, it's been hard for me too. And I've spent a lot of time trying to talk myself out of being concerned, and I haven't been able to. So I talked to Dave earlier this week about it. I asked for this picture for the purposes of the discussion here. Take away some of these other thoughts and then come back to you. But I wanted to it was important to me to be honest with you about where
Is this
thoughts.
a continuous right turn?
No.
That's signalized.
No, that isn't. And this is just this is an important piece of this whole project, particularly the operation of the local lanes. And I'm kind of like you, Mark. You think of all these things that are issues, and then you get to the end, and you don't like where you are.
Yeah.
But
Just to put it in its context, there's no decent crosswalk on either side there today, right? And there aren't great crosswalks getting across Ohio Road, so
no.
At least we're getting 3 of 4.
Yes.
Right now, you cross in the middle of the block, between traffic. It's the safest thing to do.
In the middle of the block.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The safest way.
Right.
I've done it a couple of times. Successfully.
Well,
Looks like it.
we're going to take these thoughts and considerations. Yes, Eddie?
Right there, where he's coming across 29 South, I said, gentlemen, no, come down, right there. The crosswalk, the pedestrian, come on down, follow the line on down. No.
Come closer towards us on the
Toward
crosswalk.
you. All right, you see that yellow car right there in front of you?
Here.
All right, see that guy crossing over there?
See.
All right, or lady, whoever. Once they cross that and go across that other pedestrian areas there, there's no light or anything there to keep from somebody to make that turn to come in to accidentally hit them or anything. Is there anything there to, warn cars, anything?
You mean this turn?
No, right there, with the yellow car and Yeah, the pedestrian right there.
Yeah, this will be a pedestrian actuated,
Yeah, then the other one right there too.
Yeah,
controlled by these signals.
The same with the southbound
Yeah,
local.
where the southbounds come in, they got to make a right turn to get onto Ryle Road. Is anything there to?
Southbound.
Bottom of the screen, or signal anything, or somebody walking
It's
across?
where the, in your
Point the
animation.
card to you. I can't
Yeah,
see any colors.
The animation we had, somebody almost got ran over.
They did.
Yeah, coming 29 south, and the right-hand turn to Ryle Road right there.
29 north.
There you go,
I mean,
now take a right.
29 south.
Now take a right.
Take a right then, go to the right, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Is anything there to prevent someone from running over a
You
pedestrian?
start handing out laser pointers.
Here,
Yeah,
right?
because the last simulation we had, he almost got hit.
There was one that almost got clipped over here too. Last simulation. This is also signalized pedestrian crossing. This whole thing here. Yes.
That very situation occurs in urban areas all over the country. Now, the situation is that somebody crossing that is a very short crossing. They can look back, see if a car is coming, make that crossing with a single lane as opposed to crossing 4 lanes on the 29 northbound. Generally, those are signed, be alert for pedestrians, things like that. When people are making that move as a driver, you've entered an intersection, you expect to see pedestrians making that crossing movement, whereas just in the middle of the lane, when you've got a green light, you wouldn't expect the pedestrian to be in there. One thing also, the simulation is just that, it's a simulation.
Yeah,
It's not reality. There are situations.
Believe it or not, I've been
That wasn't
on
modeling
that little island.
Here.
Yeah.
We didn't care.
And it's always a little bit scary in the sense.
Oh, yeah, it is when you're surrounded by that.
That when you're the pedestrian, you cannot see what's coming around the bend. And the guy that's going around the bend, he doesn't have any clue you're there. So, again, a pedestrian activated light, since there isn't too much pedestrian traffic, may be an interesting thing. And if nothing else, some big signs that says yield to pedestrians, just whatever, 20 feet ahead or something.
Well,
There's a compromise, because there's a lot going on, not only in this intersection, but all intersections.
Yeah.
And big signs create sight distance issues, which may prevent the pedestrian from seeing the vehicle and vice versa. So there's a balance there that we need to reach through final design. But I think that situation, people are used to it. They know, I mean, are there accidents? On occasion, yes. But I think that it's something that we can mitigate through design and it be a safe condition.
Can we look at the flashing embedded lights at the crosswalk ground level?
Sure.
the long and short.
I mean, just to send a signal,
Yeah.
you know, hey, there's somebody
The
getting.
the long and short of this is we're going to come to a time where VDOT's going to have to make a decision. I want to go back and think about some of the things that we talked about and see how that, where that takes me.
But you also have to consider how many people are going to object to going down versus saving even one light. Yeah, you're through the intersection, you're focused on getting in the lane you need to get in. That's just set up for somebody to
Yeah,
get back.
I'm just being very honest with you all. For me personally, the panel may feel differently and make a different recommendation, but this is one of those issues for me where I'm going to have to think it through. And right now, I'm at a place that will recommend removing this crossing. I want to think some more about what we talked about today. And then you guys are going to have to make a call.
One more thing, just so everybody is thinking about this moving ahead. The pedestrian actuated signal that you're discussing is a separate signal in the vicinity of that crosswalk. And introducing a signal on the other side of an intersection, it can be very confusing.
If it was a tight intersection, absolutely, it wouldn't work. But I see quite a bit of distance. The same thing in the other direction. I see enough distance to that really becoming a separate traffic.
I see a lot of potential for traffic to back up through the intersection and stop to the pedestrian.
Here's what I see. I don't think I want anybody crossing the road
There
there.
could
I don't
be
want to
some
be part
backup.
of encouraging it.
But it would occur also infrequently because you don't have that many pedestrians. And even if you make this the best intersection for pedestrians, you're still not going to have a lot more pedestrians. So
I just wanted to clarify what you were talking about so everybody understands it, because all the pedestrian crossings that we are showing are pedestrian actuated signals
Right.
on the traffic signal.
I understand.
So I wanted
In
to-
that case, that one, and if you decide to do the same thing, assume for a minute that you do decide, those would have to be traffic lights that are separate, they're not on that main structure. They're
Right.
Actually at the crossing itself.
And I don't want anybody to think I'm anti-pedestrian or bike or anything like that. I'm just very pro-safety, so I've got to think through that. So the people that are downloading this as part of the presentation are going to see that change, and that may generate some questions. And you can bounce those to me if you get them, or whatever you wish to do there. This rendering is still in a working stage, and I think we're going to turn our attention back to it now next week, as well as the video. Okay. It's a little bit, it's 10 after 4. Any new business?
Just one question.
Yes.
I have written down that November 10th is the advertisement date for.
Yes.
Is that still? Okay, good. All right.
Yes, Route 29, 250, Best Buy ramp, advertisement date, November the 10th.
All right.
And that'll be our first Route 29 Solutions project package out
Very excited.
of the chute. So that's good. That's good. Any new business? Chip, yeah, just a minute on your
Just a minute,
communication.
yeah, and we'll have, you've seen the draft copy.
Yes.
We worked on it today, and what we're talking about is the Community Assistance and Engagement Plan, where we have an oversight committee and then 3 subcommittees for communications, engagement, business assistance, as well as neighborhood subcommittees. We'll be ready in 2 weeks when we meet.
Okay.
And we'll get you a copy of that.
Okay.
So you can put it in the packet so everybody can see it.
Okay.
It's not that we're waiting. A lot of activities, as you all know, are going on. Events are being held.
Right.
Work's being done. But we're just trying to get a very good structure in so that the city, the county, VDOT, the MPO, they have a formalized process for communicating. And we'll have that for you
Okay.
at the next meeting.
Okay. All right. Yes, Morgan?
So I wanted to, I know we're running over, but if folks can humor me for a minute, I just wanted to make a clarification. It's picking up on an item we talked a little bit about at the end of the meeting last time, and it's the misinformation that's being perpetuated out there. Over the last couple of weeks, I've had several different people from the public send me a flyer that's being distributed that is confusing people about SELC's position on these projects and about how we think they should be sequenced. So I just wanted to clarify today, I think everyone in this room knows, but for the benefit of the public, for anyone who may be watching online, that we strongly support Rio interchange, and we also support the county and VDOT's sequencing of the projects in terms of, had been making sure Rio was done either before or at the same time as the parallel roads. We've learned today now that VDOT's going to actually make sure that Rio is done first. We support that, and we strongly support it. We think it makes sense. If you think about these projects as a package, Rio is really that critical joint where these parallel road improvements come together. It doesn't make sense to go out there and build these parallel roads, have more traffic that uses Rio as its access point to get to 29 and across the 29. If all that traffic is coming there and it's being tied up in a big congested knot, that doesn't make a lot of sense. So I wanted to make sure to clarify our position on that in case there's any, because I know there is confusion out there and I wanted to try to clear that up here. The other point I think is important is the misleading information. It's not just relating to SELC's position. I've seen different items that are exaggerating the extent of the lane closures that are going to be required. That's exaggerating the amount of time that the lane closures are going to be required. And I want to thank VDOT and the county because I know they're making an effort to get correct information out there. The reason I bring it up this panel was there was a question last time about what our role as panel members is in terms of trying to correct that misinformation. I know we don't all agree on all these projects. I know we don't all agree on what the sequencing of the projects should be. But I do hope we can all agree that it's important to get the correct information out there. And as a panel, if we can spend less of our time getting out there and correcting misinformation about false impacts and focus more on mitigating the impacts of the true impacts, then I think that's a much better use of our time. So I just wanted to offer that. Thanks for the few minutes to talk.
Okay.
Well, I can make a comment picking up on what you're saying. I heard complaints about misinformation, and I hadn't seen it. Well, finally, guess what? I got to see those flyers. And these are people coming out of woodworks, people that, you know, I've been on the North Charlottesville Business Council since it was started in the early 90s. These are people that I never knew I knew they existed, but I had no connection with. They got involved in this and so on, and they're doing this. But before I go deeper into that, I want to tell you that when people ask me about this, and I tell them that for the next year, once the project starts, all that work will be done at night only between 9 and 6, and then during the day it will be paved over. And then the actual digging and doing the bridge and all that will happen in 104 days. People look at me, they laugh, and they think I've been smoking something. Now, that is the reaction I get. And I always have to tell them, look, I'm telling you what I'm being told. Okay? I'm very good about telling them what I'm being told. But I don't get any traction, okay? I just get a big laugh out of it. That's a fact. And then there's the other fact that I looked at these things, and yes, there are some technically inaccuracies. But we have had 30 years of inaccuracies regarding transportation projects in this community. There are lots of them, and you and I can sit together someday and I can enumerate them to you. But I don't want to get into this, but this is part of the thing. Unfortunately, for better or worse, this is not just a transportation project that is done strictly by professional people. This is also a project that is political, and you know it better than I do. It's a political project, and some people play the game.
You don't want to get into it. But we
I'm not going to get into it.
You are. Right now, you are.
I'm just telling you where they're
pointing out
coming.
that you're dragging this on, you're getting into it.
Well,
Because
thank you very
you're
much.
making comments that you're not allowing others to respond to, and this is definitely not the time and place to be doing the grandstanding. So.
There was.
Okay, let's pull it in, let's pull it in a little bit.
Okay?
Let's pull it in
I
just a
didn't
little
start
bit.
this, okay?
But you always like to finish it.
You can go ahead and.
No, look, this thing works because the 12 of you work very hard together. It doesn't mean that it's not difficult at times, but it works because everyone works together. Let's respect everybody's opinion. I've gotten a lot of.
I'd like to pick
Go
up.
ahead.
I mean, Morgan opened the door on this, and the business community as a whole is against the interchange.
Understand.
And we feel that it is going to have immediate and long-term impacts on the business community that is considered the main street of Albemarle County. It is going to be an eyesore, and it is going to be very interested to see if it functions the way you all think it does. But the business community is not in favor of this.
So when you group the business community together, then you've got to group them together with this misinformation that's going out as well.
Well, it's not just the business community. I worked the polls all day Tuesday, and I had more than 24 people ask me, why are we spending $80-some million to speed through, to alleviate 3 traffic lights so we could speed up and stop at the next one? And these aren't business people. Most of them are retired.
Chuck,
And they don't see the money being spent.
I hear different stuff as well. Right, to oppose the project, and to put information.
I'm not saying I oppose it. I'm telling you people are opposing it to
I'm
me.
just saying-
And I'm just disseminating to everybody at the
You're giving
panel.
them the correct information, and it sounds like Henry is giving people the correct information. That's all I'm saying. Let's try to stop the misinformation.
I'm just telling you what they're asking me, they're telling me. And I think the panel needs to be told what the population, the general population believes.
I do appreciate all those thoughts. My charge and the charge of the panel is not the what to do, but the how to do it. As far as I know, the what to do is over. It's the solution package that we've talked about. I understand I understand clearly the business community's point of view, but as a business person, I appreciate the point of view. Last week, I drove back down for a meeting with the Chamber Board. Chuck and Eddie were there, and I thought it was a darn good meeting. I mean, it wasn't the easiest discussion, but I thought it was a very good meeting. One of the members, as Tim was being very watchful of everybody's time, one of the members said, hey, if Philip is willing to stay here, Neil was there, stay here, we'd like to continue the discussion. And we went on maybe 30, 45 minutes past their normal ending time. So look, I appreciate everybody's point of view. As one of you reminded me, I usually do a pretty good job of staying cool, but every now and then I let things get under my collar more than I wish I would. I'm not in this to challenge anybody's opinion. If someone asks a question, I'm going to do my best to answer it with the facts, and if I see a misstatement of a fact, I'm going to do my best to correct the fact, but not to challenge someone's opinion. I think that's real important. Some folks have asked, is VDOT, and I'm going to answer for VDOT, and is VDOT going to engage in a campaign to fight? VDOT's job isn't to campaign. I mean, all of the people that's, frankly, if you want to slice it pretty fine, the people who support the project and the people who oppose the project are paying all the salaries of the people doing the work to move them forward. So it's pretty important as public servants and as doing work for a public agency to remember that all sides of the table are paying for this work to be done. I appreciate what you said, Henry. I mean, if you say 103 days and somebody laughs, that's one point. If you say 2 to 5 years, that's not so good. You know, when something.
I cannot stop them.
No, I understand.
People in the past.
Sure.
I mean, I could give you a long
Yeah,
list of
I
stuff
don't-
that was totally bogus, but
Yeah.
it was there.
Yeah,
You know,
I understand.
It was there, and it was part of the process.
Look, you all have a tough job, and you know, you have a tough job to come together and with a variety of opinions and look at something that is. I can only think of one other project I've worked on in 43 years that has, I hate to use the word emotional, but that has had so much just history pushed into it. Only one other project, and that was in the state of Arizona. Say that project got built, functioning, but came with the same thing. The West views these meetings different. It was similar. There was a committee, and they were open to the public, but not public meetings. We met every month for 2 years. The fewest numbers that we ever had in the audience was 200. It was between 200 to 500.
But you didn't have live streaming.
We did not have live streaming. We had tap dancing, but we had no live streaming and a lot of notepads. But no, I'm not comparing that to the public participation here. This participation has been great. I mean, it's the only other project that has had so much history wound into it, and it makes it tough. I appreciate the work everybody's putting into this. My presumption is that when asked a question, it's addressed with the facts from you all, and your opinions are important, are important. So let's, I still wanted to go through our wrap-up. Let's assume that some of us wrapped up, but Chuck, Mark, Eddie?
Basically, not to go into argument here, based on what Chuck and John and Henry said, basically I heard the same thing. And a lot of people was, concerned about, the interchange and what's going on is affecting the community and impacting the business and all that. And a lot of people I talk to feel like, the bottom line is